All right, y'all, welcome back to the Pilipinx-American Stories podcast. We here want to better understand the different aspects of the Pilipinx-American diaspora. We cover topics such as, but are not limited to, history, community, and Filipinx-American culture. And I am your host, Alfredo. And our guest for this week is San Diego's own Lauren Garces. She is an event producer, a visual storyteller, and my ate. She's been doing events for the longest time now, and she's actually one of the people that really got me interested in doing events in the first place. This conversation was super dope. This was really just an Ate-Ading kind of conversation right here. And the things that we talked about were talking points that we don't really get the luxury of speaking and reflecting on because most of the time we're on this kind of hustle mode with the events and all the other projects that we're doing. So it was really nice just to sit down and have this conversation. Some of the dopest points that we brought up were just reflections on our growth, how we've been dealing with COVID. Some of the talking points that we went over were our own personal growth and just seeing how we changed over the years, how we've been dealing with COVID and thriving, and also talking a little bit about the history of some of the events that we've done in the past. I really enjoyed this conversation. I really hope y'all enjoy this Ate-Ading kind of energy that we placed for this episode. And with that being said, I present to you episode 7. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're here for another great episode with another amazing guest. This person is a very amazing event producer, in my opinion, one of the best in San Diego. She's also a CEO for her own company that she just started this year, and she's also my mentor and my ate. What's up, Lauren?
Hello, hello. You're too kind with your intro sometimes.
This is like barely covering the surface of like how long I've known you. I mean, I've known you for like over what 7 years now, maybe going on 8, I think.
That's wild. I feel like it goes so quickly, but I mean, I also like how it's been through different chapters of our lives. Like, so I like you knew me in college, correct? And like I was very spirited, I will say.
And I think that was like like one of your last years of college also. So it's like you're already transitioning into like a new life. And then,
Mhm.
fun fact, this is the third project you've been on for my stuff.
I know. I'm so appreciative to be part of it. Like I've read all the other stories, a part of your books, and I'm like amazed to be in that lineup of people because they have some amazing insights themselves. And so, thank you for thinking of me
Oh,
to
but
be.
100%. It's like, especially during this time right now, it's like looking back at how much, like you said, this a lot of the like stories that like we both told were during like very important chapters of our lives. Like when
Mhm.
you were, I think, yeah, there was just a lot of like different chapter transitions throughout like every single project, and like this one is probably like one of the biggest ones because I mean, you're finally starting like your own stuff. We're
Uh-huh.
going through a pandemic. Like there's so much stuff going on in just this year alone.
Yeah, it's a collective change of times for everyone. I think, I mean, I do events because I care about the people and the experience that they walk away from, like what they're able to feel from the events, and then hopefully make some sort of change for the better and into the positive for the world. So like that's essentially at the core why I do events, because I see um, what it can do for a community, and I very strongly believe like that's what I was meant to do is support people through all these challenges. And the way that I try to do that and the art that I try to manage through it is by throwing events and doing these sorts of things for the community. So yeah, it's crazy to go through all of this together. I think, again, like, no one has had an easy time during this pandemic. I mean, some people have had easier times, but I think in some way every single person has felt the challenge of these times, and they've also been like forced to see uh, all of the things that were kept under the rug for too long. So yeah, like I'm definitely here to help amplify the voices that don't often get heard. I'm here to build and bridge with other communities because I don't think like one sole person or one sole group is going to be the one to change the world for the better. It's got to be a collective amount of people doing that. So, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of chapters and now we're here. Now we're here in 2020.
It's wild. Like, I mean, we talk about. I mean, we don't really talk about it so much, but it's more so a lot of the things that we do with events, like in general, is put more into practice. Like, I mean, it's very easy for someone to talk that talk, but like if people are not putting down what they're saying, it's like it don't like talking only goes like so far. And I mean, like we were saying this a little bit before. I mean, yeah, it is still a collective thing, but like I guess with everything right now, it kind of feels like we're leading the charge with like so much stuff. Or I mean, at least we're leading the charge with like a whole bunch of like other people that are around us.
Hmm. Yeah, there's resilient people everywhere, and I think more people to realize that there's resilience in yourself too. Um, I mean, mental health is super important, and everyone has their own sort of role. And some people can take on more roles to make the world a little bit better, put more shopping carts away, help people across the road who are older and need that support, stuff like that. So little things like that add up for the bigger picture, and everyone has their sort of role. And like the ones that I get inspired most by, and obviously many others do, are the leaders of who take it upon themselves to step up and serve the community and like really listen to the community and do something for them alongside them and build for them. Those are the people I look up to the most, and it's just because it's so selfless. Like they they choose to put their, I guess, their energies on the line, their perspective, their egos aside to make these things possible. And so, like, yeah, we were talking about this a little before you started recording, but I mentioned, I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd. My middle school friends in Hawaii will shout that out and know, like, we had like series of us watching like all the Harry Potter movies in like 1 to 2 days to try and wait for the last one to come out. Super huge Harry Potter nerd. Anyway, so back to the story. Basically, there's a there's a specific arch that I really like, and I forget which book. I'm a bad Harry Potter fan, but basically, it's when Harry is waiting. Excuse me, I need water. Hold on. But yeah, so Harry's waiting for his dad essentially to come out and cast a Patronus to scare away the Dementor that's about to kill them. Um, and so he's waiting and waiting, and up until a certain point, he finally realizes like it was me, like I'm the person that did this. And so in that sense, like that really spoke to me, just because I think more people need to realize like the change that we want to see in the world is going to start with the change that's in you first. And so basically, I need more water, I'm talking too much. But yeah, basically when people realize it's them that's going to make that change for themselves, their future selves. You can't wait for someone else to come and save you. It's going to be you. um, I think the better the world's going to be.
Oh, 100%. Like it's funny that you use this. Like I was thinking about it a little bit more, but like if you're looking at the movies also, that's such a big scene in that. And then if you're looking towards like I forget which movie it was. So that movie was Prisoner of Azkaban, and then the fifth book
Mm-hmm.
was Order of the Phoenix. And I remember there was a specific part that was not in the book, but there was like an added scene
Mm-hmm.
with what is his name? Sirius Black and Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a part where they were like fighting off Lucius and
Yes.
all that, and then he was like, "Nice one, James." And it's just like, yo, that kind of that speaks a little bit bigger because it's like you're your own savior at the end of the point, and that's like that speaks so much, especially during these times. It's like I mean, a lot of people I love all the resilience that I've been seeing so far, like in this pandemic. Like, I mean, you started like your own business, like officially, like you're taking a lot of charge. I mean, with the projects that we've been doing with like ABA and stuff, like the amount of like I don't know, the amount of like resilience that's rubbing off onto everyone else is like it's so big, and like I could feel the contagiousness of that resilience like happening, and it's like it's kind of like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like it, just I think again, everybody's been going through the challenges together. What I do like is that it kind of made everyone sit at home with themselves, hopefully, and realize like, is the stuff that I'm doing really like something that I care about, something that I'm passionate about? Is this how I want to spend my time on this planet, essentially? Um, and so it's making a lot of people collectively look like, there's things that could be better around me. There's things that could be better within my own home, within my own community, that I want to make better, essentially. And so again, like, I mean, like you're saying, like, shout out to Asian Business Association, ABA San Diego. That's our team right now. They're wonderful. Um, it's been about just trying to help other people through these times too. So, one, help yourself, help your world first by seeing your own world from your own lens, and then stepping back and realizing like, okay, what is it that I want to contribute with my time on this planet? That could be from taking care of your family, blah blah blah. Um, but then, like, also, when you're ready, take some steps towards like making your community better. Like something as simple as voting, we're all realizing, wow, that's a that's a right that we've been given, especially living here in the United States. And the more you get involved civically with this process, the more you realize like, wow, like my vote really does change like not only the elected officials that are in office, but also like the laws and the policies that try to get slipped by past us because no one participated, essentially. And then yeah, like it's really funny. Am I allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Yeah, go ahead, full wholeheartedly.
um it's funny because in my neighborhood there's there's a house that like definitely lets their views sort of be known. Like when they open their garage, you can see all of the signs of past elected officials that they've rooted for, and whatever side you're on, like you know that they rooted for that party, for example. But they put a super funny sign out like in front of their yard that I pass like anytime I go out to work or do an errand, and it says vote or quit your bitchin'. So it looks like a sign, like it's for a certain person, but it actually just says vote or quit your bitchin'. And I even if I may or may not agree with like the party that is in their garage that they show signs for, I can agree that like if you're not voting, then you can't really. I mean, you have all rights to complain. You're in a free country. You can do that, but like a huge part of our power is just by voting. And so policies that we don't completely agree with, it's either the elected official who put that in play, or it was someone who put it on the ballot as a proposition, and it was either supported or not supported enough. So vote, vote, vote. Super simple things like that go a long way.
That's such a big thing because it's like that's so much power that we have in like in our hands. I mean, like right now it's like 2020, the census is going on at the time of like the recording. We're going through an election. There's like I mean, even on the local level, there's so much power that we have, and like as important it is to lay the groundwork in like certain other avenues, like voting and just like having your voice heard, regardless if it's like social media on like a ballot. It's like your voice as a person is so much more powerful than people really like it's downplayed so much, and it's like it's sad to hear that, but it's like yo, your voice actually does matter. And I think I like that, especially like with what you do with events and all that, because I mean, you've said it before, like these events are like your canvases. This is like your art form and everything, and like the
Mhm.
amount of voices that are heard with your events from other people, it's like it's kind of mirroring that whole power of like voting or power to have like your voice there. Like you're giving people that chance to have their voice heard in these like events, these projects, and it's like it just shows them how I don't know how much they're actually like capable of.
Yeah, I'm again, if people are still on their journey to realizing how capable they are, like at making all these big changes that we see in the world, like I'm rooting for them because yeah, like the sooner you realize, like we go back to that same picture of just like Harry realizing it was himself that saved him from from the brink of death. Um, again, the better we're gonna be. And so, I mean, you mentioned like sort of like how I picture things when I do events like this art, this canvas. Um, like even when I was in college, especially like I just remember specifically an interview with it was with Andres Bonifacio Samahan, Community Outreach and Political Education, ABSCOPE. Shout out to Julius Alejandro, my mentor, for introducing me to that program, which is part of Andres Bonifacio Samahan, AB Samahan at San Diego State University. um, way back. Anyways, so shout out to them because during my freshman year, I applied to be part of their leadership program, ABSCOPE. And during my interview, it was Miguel, I believe, who interviewed me, and he asked me what is it? I think that's like new or like that you bring to the table, or like how do you expect to connect people? Essentially, something along those lines. And I just remember specifically saying like I just like to see things as like a big puzzle, and I still do. And I think it's just I've dived into this concept deeper and deeper as I've went along my event art journey. But I do see it all, the big picture, as a puzzle. The more you're able to step back and see the perspective of other people and what's going on, not just in your community but in the world, the better you can see the bigger picture, essentially the bigger picture of the puzzle. And when you go back small scale to the pieces, it's I think of it as like people in the community or groups in the community, and everybody's again has their own sort of role and little piece to that big picture of a puzzle. And so for me as an event producer and doing this art form, essentially, um, what I try to do is see which groups connect the best, and can be highlighted in their own sort of respects. And doing that is by making them come together with something as special as an event. So I again attribute sort of all this work that's done in the community, all this work towards creating something a little bit better by all of the groups that I'm able to connect and see and let other people see at the same time. So when I'm painting a canvas, like I feel like I'm just listening to what the community is telling me or what they're saying, and then I paint it with their voices, their passions in mind, specifically in connecting with other people. And again, just painting that bigger picture one step at a time.
This is pretty amazing because like you've talked about this process like a lot, and just I guess I just don't get to hear it as often because we're so busy getting into like those events. Like for me, like I try to be like tunnel vision when it comes to like doing our events like SD Night Market, Linda Vista,
Mhm.
like Multicultural Fair and Parade. Like I try to just get in that mindset. I'm like, okay, we have to like execute this the way like we know how, but it's like there's so much building that goes on before the event even begins. Like there's so much relationship building, there's so much like outreach that goes on, and it's just like it's a nice reality check to hear this like again, because it's
Mhm.
like there is a lot that people don't see. Like I mean they really just see the like above the surface and everything, or above the water with the iceberg. They don't really see the like the
What?
work that goes in
Yeah,
beforehand.
absolutely. It's I love that you mention like I've talked about it in the past, and I actually love like sometimes going back and hearing like what my mind was at that point. But I've definitely again like it's taken years to like understand it from this point, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning every day. I love the fact that I'm able to keep learning in this process. The other thing that I'll mention, like uh, that it requires is a lot of patience and a lot of letting time do its thing. Like you said, like there's a lot of relationships that have to be built up to a certain point, and that that takes time. That takes it could take some people click within a day, some people click within a week, but others it'll take more time. It'll take months. It'll take years. And so I'm very driven in a sense that like if there's something that I want to pursue, like I immediately start taking like a little action towards it, whether it be writing it down, or just like or even just like mapping up a plan, and then I work backwards from that vision. But basically, like I get a little impatient sometimes because I think everybody does. I think everybody wants something done right away, because we're human. We want it like almost now, especially with how like America's society is being built up with this like instant gratification sort of mentality. Like, oh, I can get my Amazon Prime in 2 days versus like before things that used to take like 2 to 4 weeks to ship to your house, and like that was just the standard. But yeah, we're definitely being built up in America specifically with this like almost instant gratification need for things, and like when we don't see it that quickly, it upsets us. But when it comes to like community work, real community change, like there's people far longer in the game than myself who have been putting in years on end and years of leadership, and so it takes time, and that's something that I still continue to learn and practice is realizing like everything that I want to help change and make better in the world is not going to happen overnight. Rome was not built in a day, and so we do have to be mindful of like the time that it takes to put in like even an inch worth of work sometimes. So it's a long haul. We have to be ready for that.
It's like, I mean, it's that whole that saying, it's like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
you could expedite it as much as possible, but like there's that thing of like, especially with artists, it's like when they get requests to do like certain pieces or certain commissions, like I need you to do this in like X amount of time. It's like, yo, there's a reason why some things look far more rushed than other things, and it's like there's so many pieces that are not properly refined, or like some pieces are that are not like properly like tended to, and
Mhm.
you get like, I don't know, something that's like lackluster. And we obviously don't want that for the community, because it's like we want obviously what's best, and it's that that's going to take some time. It might be tomorrow, it might be next month, it might be next year, or even like 5 years from now. Like, but this everything has like some kind of timeline, so there's no need to rush. I mean, like going back to, I mean, this is a concept that goes with school too. It's like people have their own timeline when it comes to school. Like the same thing goes for just about everything else. There's no need to rush something that, I don't know, something like that's eventually gonna better something. And going back to the whole instant gratification thing, it's so like that whole idea of patience is like, I hope it doesn't like go away or anything, but it's like we need to have a little bit more patience and a lot more trusting in whatever process is going on, because it's like we're in this for the long game. It's not like, I mean, like it's not going to be one and done and that's it. We still have like a lot of things to build on. Like we have, like, how many night markets have we had like for
Ooh.
San Diego?
Um, the first one was in 2013, and so there usually was one every single year since then. I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 years that one didn't happen just because, again, that's like for the most part a fully volunteer run event, and people get burnt out in our community. So, 20, I know 2013 was the first one, so maybe there was about 6 or 5. I wasn't the one that was planning the first couple. Like they shout out to San Diego Night Market team, love y'all to death. I have to also, is it okay if I take a quick moment of silence on
Oh,
here?
100%. I know what it's for. So yeah, take it as long as you need.
Yeah, so just a quick moment of silence. I am gonna get emotional a little bit. Ron, um, yeah, Ron Luong from our team. He was so instrumental in making that event possible, and everything for the community. All did it all for free. Um, Gave so much of his time. He unfortunately passed away recently, but he's in heaven now. He's not hurting anymore. So, moment of silence for Ron. But yeah, like, so Ron's legacy lives on. We'll never forget all of the time, all of the love that he just contributed to making San Diego Night Market possible. And not only just San Diego Night Market, he was avid in the community. He was also an event producer with EXO Presents, and he did other events like the Tet Festival at the stadium. And then he was just always in the community doing and volunteering his time. So, um, yeah, shout out to Ron. We love you. We miss you. We're going to keep doing these big, great events with all of our heart in it, uh, with you as an inspiration still.
It's
So,
just so wild because like Ron set the foundation for so much stuff with like what we're doing.
mhm.
Like I know it took a while for us to eventually move out of Convoy to like a much bigger space like the I don't even know what the stadium's like called anymore. It's like it's changed names so many times, but like since like it's I don't know, it's just wild that like we're at that point now and like people like Ron and other like event producers that came before us, it's like yo, they set a lot of foundation to where we are and it's like yo, that's like that's so big just to think about that.
For sure. Yeah, I'm always grateful for all the people that I'm able to build with continuously throughout this journey. Like, one of the funny stories about Ron, like we all share, and again, Ron's legacy continues to live on. Fun little gem for people who love Convoy District. Shout out Convoy District Partnership nonprofit. Lots of like great volunteers behind the scenes there, always dedicating their time to make who like who who called it Convoy District before? You're a San Diego native, correct? Right?
Yes, I am, but I didn't know about Convoy until like I think the last part of high school.
Ah, so and there's just such a deep like love for that neighborhood of like people coming together, having some of their best memories in that neighborhood, and it's like juxtaposed next to like super industrial like that's where people get their cars services. That's where they buy cars. That's where they get their smog checks. They're like blown out tires fixed. Blah blah blah. All these like industrial sort of services on these crazy like roads. But anyways, so yeah, Convoy District has been pushing and pushing year after year to work with the community to make it better. And so with Ron, like if you for anyone that was close to him, like a little piece of him is up there right now. Like so Ron bought all of our 10 by 10 tents that we use for the event. So those 10 by 10 pop-ups that you see at Walmart, like they go on sale like for like 30 or $40 sometimes. Usually they're $50. People use them on the beach, but with San Diego Night Market, we're a nonprofit who has no budget. So we bought those because we couldn't afford to rent the bigger ones sometimes. Um, and so Ron bought like I want to say like 15 of them from Walmart in like one day because they were on sale. And like there was like a lady that like she just wanted one and that was all Ron would give her because he's like, "Look lady, we have a big event like probably going on the same day and we need to use them for the community." So Ron bought up all the Walmart like canopy 10 by 10s, only gave one to this lady who was like gonna fight him for it, and then brought it to the event to again provide shade for our peoples who were coming to the event. And so those canopies, like with the pandemic happening and our small businesses, especially like a lot of the ones in Convoy District getting super hit super hard because of not only like not people not going out, but at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a little bit of discrimination towards Asians in general. Um, and so like our small businesses in the Convoy area saw a little bit of a effect with that. And they can't afford to keep investing with all these new protocols that keep it coming into play. Like, can people eat indoors? Can people eat outdoors? Can they go inside or only do to go? So like it's been a huge investment for a lot of our business owners. And the Convoy District, we had these tents that Ron bought like sitting in our storage, and we're like, you know what, let's let's just like rent, not rent, borrow it out for free, because we don't want the business owners to keep continuing to pay so much at a cost. Like they had already just invested a bunch of money into buying all the indoor barrier stuff at that time, and then they closed indoors and they had to move outdoors. So they spent like, some people spend like 3 to 10 thousand on things like that. So that's a lot for a business who had like no revenue for a few months because of the closures. And we let Ron's tents go in the Dumpling Inn Shanghai Saloon lot. So there's like this big barrier in the middle where people can eat outdoors for Dumpling Inn and Shanghai Saloon, and we happily help set those up for them to use. So Ron's little legacy lives on. Again, I will continue to be inspired by him moving forward. All the events that we do are definitely in honor of him.
Wait, so those tents are the ones we've been using for night market for like the past like I don't know how many years?
Yes, so it's okay, fun. See, even our team doesn't even all know, but yes, Asian Business Association, Convoy District, we came together because we realized our small business owners were struggling super hard, and we just used the resources that we have, the little resources that we have in our community, to just lend it to other people in need. So those tents that Ron bought, not fought, almost fought a lady for in Walmart years ago to get our tents. They are now supporting a small business to operate outdoors and regain some of the funds that they lost. So,
That is such a fun fact, but the funny thing is like I'm so used to only seeing like that brand of tent that I didn't even like think like I didn't even do like a second take. Like I didn't even realize that I kind of thought people were just on those are the Ozark brand ones, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of just thought like everyone's just on that hype now. Like, oh, we set the trend for like the Ozark tents. Everyone's using them now. But I'm like, yo, there's another layer to like to Convoy now, and it's just it's wild hearing that.
Yeah, see, like these little secrets, you know, again, everybody has a sort of part to play, and I want a little more people to realize, like especially with the Convoy District, like there's so little resources that we're trying to gain funds for, and now with the pandemic hitting even harder with our small businesses, like every little bit helps. Like you getting to go in our neighborhood helps. You not using like your delivery apps to get the food, which take away like 30% from the business and don't really leave them anything. Um, like you just calling directly to the business and picking it up goes so much farther. Every little bit helps. And so again, we try to help where we can. Like I'm proud to work with the nonprofits that we do. Um, and like, there's a lot of people who don't like ever fully understand like how things uh like how every little part affects the other part. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting challenge across the board, and yeah, the more people realize like every little bit helps. You supporting a small business, you supporting a community, you supporting a nonprofit goes a long, long way, because our poor government is also struggling to to get the help to the right places and that need it most too. So we'll keep advocating for that on the bigger end. Like on the bigger end, we do fight those fights of like questioning like how funds go and where they should be appropriated to people who are doing programs that support people through this stuff like that. We do that kind of stuff too on the big end. But yeah, it's every little action goes a long, long way, friends.
Mm. switching gears a little bit, like going more back into the event producing side. Like I know we partnered up with like a lot of businesses before, but considering the situation that we're in right now, many of our events have been put on hold, or even some of the stuff that you had planned with like other organizations are put on hold and everything. Like, how has that affected like some of the stuff that you've been working on? Like whether it be positive or I wouldn't say negative, but it's just like it's kind of on temporary hold.
Yeah, I do I do work with a lot of different nonprofits that usually have in-person events. So like the Linda Vista Multicultural Fair, our event was originally in April. Um, we postponed it at that time till October because we thought the situation was going to get better by then. And I mean, it's September right now. We've already announced that we are waiting until 2021. And like on the industry level of events, people have discussed and uh, talked about that it may not come back as soon as we expect. And so 2021, we'll see how it goes. I know there's a lot of really fantastic event producers on the big industry and that are working with county health officials to come up with appropriate guidelines for being in large in-person gatherings. Um, but yeah, it's gonna take time, and honestly, like for me, I've gotten busier in the sense that like I have talents in other areas, not only events. I help with like marketing, outreach, a lot of like the relationships that I have with communities are I'm able to support them in a different way than just an event right now. So um, in that regard, like it has been a killer hit to myself because I love events. So many of us love events. We love being in the spirit of other people and feeling that energy with everyone there and that collective celebration. And it is hard that we're not able to do that, but I look always to like the resilience of people, and I look to where communities have been able to form in a new way virtually. I think a lot of people are zoomed out during these times, especially, but we have seen some beautiful moments happen virtually with like international guests from around the world able to tune into it and be part of it. So, so for myself, I switched to doing. I did a few virtual events, like so. I've done a town hall. I've done a bunch of Zoom webinars for the community, and then also the bigger one that we did was it was close to like a 12-hour day of live streaming for the San Diego and Me experience, which is it's an umbrella or not an umbrella, I guess a byproduct of not being able to have the San Diego night market at the stadium this year. And so, like we had a close to 12-hour virtual experience where we made a scavenger hunt list of like over 100 San Diego locals' favorite things to do. We narrowed it down into a scavenger hunt list. And my whole intention behind doing that was to remind people that we can get out together from afar, but do it safely. We can get back to the things that we love, get back to exploring and finding new things, even within our own city, um, but doing it safely and in our own way. So that was my intention behind doing the scavenger hunt. On the live stream, we featured performers. We featured like talking to a few small businesses on how they've been adapting. Lots of like really great segments where we showed, for example, finding a new mural. So we talked to Johnny Pucci and the Fong family who they did a mural for Black Lives Matter and to remember Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, to amplify that conversation, hear how that legacy of a family basically has seen the neighborhood change and how they've also seen the hope come from the neighborhood by putting art pieces up like that. So that was a really powerful conversation that we got to share with the SDNB experience. And so, yeah, even though the physical in-person events have stopped, I've been able to support in other ways and get people involved in sort of other ways and test new virtual event grounds per se. Um, so that's been fun. That's where I find the positives. But again, like, not everyone's into that either. They're just looking for a way to get out, and so um, hoping everyone's okay on their journeys.
Which is true. It's gonna take some time before we get out and everything, but we can't really discount the impact that some of these like virtual events have and everything. I mean, I don't know. To me, it feels like there's more events now, and like the accessibility to having these kinds of events, especially with like the amount that you adapted to. I mean, what is it like? There was in the Vista that was a virtual event. SD Night Market or SD and Me, that live
Mm-hmm.
stream on Twitch was yeah, that 12-hour was another like adaptation. You did some with Film Fest, and like Nap's been
Mm-hmm.
doing like way more during this time too. So it's like it's a little harder for me to keep up with how many events are going on, and it's just like, yo, I mean, people are. I was like gonna talk about like, I mean, yeah, it's hit event producers a lot harder, but it's also made them more resilient in the sense that they kind of have to think outside the box now.
For sure. Yeah, I've gone way, way innovative, so catch me in the virtual world sometimes, but I'm happily hanging out in the physical world most of the time. um, yeah, I it made me also, so for me, like, I'm always constantly trying to look for new inspirations. Before, it meant like being able to travel to like other festivals or other cities and see what's working in their neighborhoods. Why are these like beautiful, like culturally blossoming neighborhoods possible? um and so again, it usually comes from rich history, rich culture in the neighborhood, and just amplifying those voices that exist there. And so with that, like, all of us we're in a sense put at stay at home orders, and so our event, like, in creative and experience based industry, it's been fascinating for me to see all the new ways that they've transitioned. And like, the bigger ones, they've made like VR worlds, and I would love to get into that terrain in the future, and we kind of secretly are. I don't. I don't know how much I can share, but but yeah, like, basically, I've still continued to pursue what I love. We just have to do it in a new way and be innovative in that sense, but also take care of ourselves in the process.
Oh, 100%, especially with the amount of introspection that's been going on. It's like there is a significantly healthier balance. It's so weird to think about it because, like, artistry in itself, like, we would think that it's like would be hit harder because of a pandemic, but like I've seen the most resilient people like in this pandemic. Like I've seen artists like I'm trying to figure out how am I gonna formulate the sentence. The most resilient people I've seen during this pandemic are artists. Like I've seen some people like in our circle like pushing out like different kinds of content. They started their own things. I mean, you started your own stuff. Like I mean, this whole podcast was a result of the pandemic or like me having this access to this kind of stuff. It's like, yo, this is it's weird to be grateful for it, but it's like we probably wouldn't have had as much innovation during this time if it weren't for it.
Hey, it's the human experience. That's all. uh, I want to, I guess, emphasize. Like, we're gonna have happy days. We're gonna have some very deeply sad days. We're gonna have some very deeply angry days. Just with everything going on, and just becoming fully aware that all these things are going on around us. The introspection part, it's allowing us to figure out better our footing, um, during all of these times, and figuring out where we stand, and what causes we're actually rooted in, and what we're willing to do, and how we're willing to make this place either better or the same. So um yeah, it's been a I think this time needed to happen. I think the world needed this time to heal deeply, because there there was so much that was going, I guess, left unnoticed, or not given enough attention to, and this time is making us finally see it, and also seeing where the people around us fit into that conversation too, and then assessing if those people are meant to be in our conversation or are meant to be on a different path or a different book essentially.
Ooh, that's a big thing, but like that could go so much deeper. But I want to quickly switch up gears really quick because we're off onto like our mid segment question, and this is something that we've talked about before, and I'm hoping this is the kind of dream project that like you had in mind, and I'm super like I want to continue having this conversation because I eventually want to help you manifest it into the universe for this to happen. But is there a specific like dream project that you have, and as an event producer, or are there any projects you want to accomplish in the near future, or like is there a next big thing that you want?
I shared this in the book a bit, or the last book I was in with you. But basically, I will know I've continued to, I don't know, do and pursue what I love, and have done a good job as an event producer when the people who come to my event are able to contribute it like then and there while they're at it, and be part of that experience. So like again, like one of my biggest inspirations before was lightning in a bottle, and so there was this like crazy sort of magic to that festival just because like when I was in there I had no clue what the event producers set up or what other people were bringing to the festival. There was so many blurred lines there where like there was murals set up, and then like it was a person who camped and like set up that mural there that was part of the festival. So for me, like being able to create live an experience where people can contribute and feel like they have a safe enough space to create and be part of, like those are my ultimate and big end goals. And so I think again with all the work and service that I hope to provide by working with all the nonprofits that I work with, I hope that like it continues to build a space and community for, okay, for me, for often overlooked communities, who don't often get this space and voice to feel comfortable, feel like they can contribute, feel like they can be empowered to be part of the bigger experience. Um, so that's essentially my big vision sort of thing. Like I don't have a certain like this is what it looks like in my mind, like the this is where people park or this is where people set up like stages. No, like I don't have it like that, but I do know that deeply at the end of the day that's where my heart lies, is just being able to, like, I guess, serve the people in that way and help the people, um just do what they do already and be highlighted. And so um, that's my role, and I'll keep fighting the bigger fight where I can, when I can. But yeah, that's sort of my vision. I do want to speak to like another sort of like weird like realization that I've come to. So I constantly am like I will constantly mind map. I constantly um, do like these like sort of vision boards myself, and for me like one of the goals previously that I had, and I think I shared it like a previous retreat with you, is that I really wanted like a community center. Like I keep saying, like I wanted like a community center. I want a cultural community center, and like the more I think about it and the more like I reflect on it, the more I realize like, wow, I kind of do have that in a different way already. Like we have Convoy District, which has become this again like blossoming like cultural community center. I mean, it consists of all these businesses and places and our friends who manage these crazy things and bring murals to the neighborhood. Shout out Cross Street. Um, so like we do in a way have a community center there, and then like with our work with Asian Business Association, so we're completely dedicated to supporting businesses through the challenges. And so that has meant a lot during the pandemic with us trying to get them, PPP loans, grants, and specifically fighting for like businesses who like have different cultural barriers to getting these grants, like language or simply not knowing that exists. So we advocated super hard to make sure that they got something with all this funding that's being made available. So still fighting for that, still trying to support the small businesses who are like the lifeblood of our neighborhoods, because like you look out into uh like a city, and you ask like what makes up that city, what makes it so beautiful. Oftentimes you're gonna call out the cool small businesses that exist, and make the makeup of it. You're never truly gonna shout out like, oh, we got this franchise here, we got this like Walmart or something like that. You look to like the small businesses like who got the heart and soul of your neighborhood. So we've been supporting them, and we actually just moved into a larger office with the goal of making it like a cultural co-working hub, essentially. So working with our community partners to offer them a space in the future, if they don't have a space to meet, or if they don't have a space to help their ideas formulate, or they don't have a space to synergize with other professionals and other local community leaders. So in a weird different way, like I feel like that sort of goal that I had is manifesting in a new way. So we have like this really amazing new like cultural co-working hub that is the Asian Business Association Alliance Small Business Development Center in Convoy. How wild.
It's
So
so I'm like, okay, so the way I envisioned it before, the way we talked about this in the past was I'm trying to figure out how to go about this, but like the way I've envisioned it before was it being some type of community center,
mhm.
but the way that it's looking right now, it's like every section that I envisioned, or like what I was thinking like was in your mind was like, okay, this section would be for like this thing, and then this section would be for like that thing or whatever. But like looking at how much of a hub like the Convoy District is in just like that area, we do essentially have those sections. We have like our office with ABA to do that collaboration work. We have like places like Cross Street, Common Theory, like all these partnered like businesses where we could easily like host events with people. Like the amount of like we do essentially have the community center, but it looks so different from I'm pretty sure how we imagined it in the past. Like we thought it was going to be something that's like built from the ground up. Like the way I'm thinking about it is like, oh, it's going to be like an actual building where people have to like pay rent or like some kind of stuff. But it's like, no, the community center is literally the community itself. It just looks different than how it's like envisioned, but it is slowly happening. I mean, you even said it yourself. There's like other neighborhoods that are like keeping an eye on like where Convoy is, and it's like, yo, this is like I wouldn't say the next new neighborhood, but it's like they're following suit. Like their Convoy is doing something right.
Absolutely. And like I there's so much love that I have for Convoy. I have a lot of love for a lot of different neighborhoods. Again, I've worked with so many different nonprofits across so many different typically underserved communities that I see the beauty of their cultures. I see what happens when we give them a platform to come together, and it's just so amazing. And people are like, wow, what's going on there? How do we do something like that? And so my love is not only for Convoy, like I think I'm luckily in a position right now. I do marketing outreach and events with Asian Business Association. So we're specifically positioning ourselves to be collaborators in the community and start building these relationships that like why was everyone working in silos? Why we need to work together now more than ever. So I'm working with the amazing other like business improvement districts, um, to see like where can we support each other, how do we keep building together, how do we support all these wonderful small businesses that make up our communities, that our communities are able to partake in. So I will happily like make obviously community centers with other sorts of cities and neighborhoods that could use it and could use that extra sort of support. That's what I'm here for. That's where I serve my time essentially. So I'm so proud to see and reflect on, especially like I just again like I've only recently reflected on that because this year has been so wild and so fast. Um, but like reflecting on it, we do in our own way have our own community center. And I do want to also say thank you to, again, to all the people that I've worked with and continue to work with to make this possible. Like, it's not just me. Like, there's so many people behind the scenes that are working to these bigger visions. So seriously, shout out to all of them. Shout out to my mentors that have helped bring it up to this place. The shout out to all the people who have believed in me and like let my random wild ideas fly and support them somehow still. Like, it's, it's not easy for me to be like, hey, 12-hour live stream event, let's go, here's how we do it. Like, there's not that many people that, one, have the capacity to let that be possible, and also are supportive enough to make those crazy things that have never happened possible either. So I want to say thank you to so many people that just like let me be as crazy as I am in this world.
It's so like I know we're like both big like Kingdom Hearts fans and everything, but I remember there's like there's a picture like in Kingdom Hearts where there's like Sora and then there's a whole bunch of other people behind him, and like I'm like thinking of like Photoshop ideas. I'm like your face like on Sora's like body or whatever, and then like everything else is like behind.
You have to show me that. I'm not very good at Photoshop, but I would love to see that. Like, dude, I'm such a Harry Potter, Kingdom Hearts, Sailor Moon, Ghibli, specifically Totoro, sort of that's what made up me. Like, I think those are the me components in some way.
It's so wild to think about that because like I mean with everything in that there's like a lot of like team building, there's a lot of relationship building and everything, and this kind of trickles into like the next topic, but like with your like newly found LCC or wait, LLC social artistry, like that's essentially the foundation like of what it is. And this was something that was, I mean, you founded this back in like in May of this year. Like, could you talk about like this a little bit more? I know it's, again, this is like everything we talked about is the foundation leading up to this, but it's just like you have something that's completely manifested off this foundation. Now it's like it's here.
Yeah, so social artistry, I had actually no clue that I was gonna start that this year. And if you asked me it literally in January or even February, I didn't know the name. I didn't know that was like gonna be something that I manifested and just followed through with this year. Um, but again, I had a lot of wonderful encouragement and a lot of people sort of just like rooting me on to make it possible and realize kind of my own worth as an event producer, what I'm capable of, and what I'm able to contribute to our world and our community. And so, with everything happening in the world, with the pandemic hitting and seeing how it, I mean, never forget like how it like literally crippled the world at the beginning. Like, we all stopped and we're figuring it out together. um, eh, Me creating social artistry, again, I attribute it largely as a contribution to what I wanted to put out during this time, during these hard times. And so for social artistry, like, again, I had people like Jason, president and CEO of ABA, and then Wesley Qua, who I've worked with through San Diego Night Market and so many other projects, also part of ABA. They just encouraged me and gave me opportunities to make social artistry possible by lending me contracts essentially to build and grow with it. And so, um, yeah, for me, creating social artistry was my way of putting what I wanted out in the world to say like, hey, like, this is how I believe we're going to get through this together. So the concept of social artistry is like, so my passion, my events, my arts come through usually the form of events and then sometimes marketing. But just realizing that it's a creative process, it's like an innovative process, and we have to do it also together with other people. It's the social art of it all, and realizing like, okay, which community groups could be working together during these times? Who has resources in these areas? who was able to support in this realm. And so like in the beginning of the pandemic, I actually created this gigantic like Google Doc where I was just storing all of the resources that I saw for COVID in the community. So it went from things from like rent assistance to like, here's all the government programs that are being offered to assist people. Here's how businesses can get support and resources. Here's some like childcare stuff. Here's some teacher resources, blah, blah, blah. So like I created that in the beginning of the pandemic. And I also, again, like, I guess lent that sort of idea to creating social artistry. And so I'm very proud of this chapter. I think a lot of people knew that it was a new chapter for me, and I'm glad they were able to see it develop in this way, and I encourage them to be part of that process too, because it to me again I can't do this all alone. We have to all work together to make it possible.
Ooh, I remember the first time you actually brought up this idea. Like we were prepping for like SDNME stuff with like Cross Street. Like we were in the parking lot of Cross Street or whatever. Like we were just eating food and then we were talking just about a whole bunch of other stuff. But then like you brought up this idea of like what it was. But then like lo and behold, like now we're at this point where like you have your own website for it. Now you have like everything to go along with it. Like I thought it was gonna take like a lot longer. I knew you've been building this up for like so long, but it's like, yo, this is something that is actually tangible now.
hmm And yeah, again, it needs to be tangible. It needs to be tangible for the groups to see that we can work together, we can collaborate in with these ways. So like we have some big projects in the pipeline. Like it's allowed me to grow our team a bit. Like so, Alfredo is part of our media team as well as Kevin Rockadon. Shout out Kevin, and we're slowly growing our media team. We have a social media crew too, getting these messages, super important messages out to the community, and then also I always tell them like it's social media, so we need to be engaged and hear what other people are saying that they need support on, blah blah blah. So it's a collaborative process. I'm here for any of the organizations that want to talk big picture, but I'm also here for any of the organizations on the ground who want to do the work and get stuff done. And yeah, I think again at a beautiful point being able to be part of both of those conversations because that's where I feel is where we're most effective and where we're able to make the most change together.
If there's anything that I learned about marketing without having to go to school that came from you was that the interactions we have with people is the biggest marketing tool that we have. It's like there's relationships out there that need to be built. Numbers could say things all day, but like that rapport, that relationship you have with people will come back, and that amount of success does not measure up to like the amount of numbers. Like numbers could only tell so much, but like the genuine collaboration, the creation of things with other people speaks way louder than that for sure.
hmm Absolutely. I'm not here to just talk the talk. I'm here to walk the walk with the people and figure it out together and then start doing some things to make it possible. So those are the types of people I love working with. I find so much inspiration and so many like community leaders around me. They're the ones who are constantly emphasizing, your mental health matters and self-care matters and you do need to find that time. But at the same time, you need to take some little steps too. Like if you just stay stagnant, if you don't do anything, then obviously your world's not going to change. So find that courage, find that resilience, take a little step at the time. Even if it means taking care of yourself for a while, for a little bit first, that's super key. But when you're ready, get back out there.
Mm. So going on to this like little last part before like our little advice section, this is more like an outlook of events, marketing for the future. But like, what do you feel, at least from your perspective, um, like these events, these opportunities, what do you think they're gonna look like um, as we continue on? Like, what does it look like in the future?
There's a part of me that like, everybody's like, oh, I can't wait to get back to normal, blah blah blah. I miss normal. And it's like, was normal? Like, what was like so exciting about normal? I think in the future, I'm actually really excited to see the sorts of innovations and connections that are now possible. Now, I think more than ever, everybody realized like, holy cow, the power of the internet and being able to connect virtually is a wildly powerful thing. And so we need more of the people doing good, to be part of that process in the future. And for me, like, I'm very excited on the event spectrum to see how people are going to try and foster these feelings of connection, from afar. And then hopefully it'll eventually lead back again to our in-person connections, because there's nothing that beats that truly human connection with other people, other groups, other communities. And so, um, that's how I see the events in the future shifting. Like, I'd rather it not go to normal. I'd rather it push the bounds and push what's possible, for something better.
Mm. And I mean, we're at this point where we're at the advice section, but we had this question and everything, but are you okay with me asking a different question?
I don't mind. Feel free.
So we've talked heavily about the resilience that we've personally gone through during this time, how people have struggled like during this time, regardless if it's like artistry, business, whatever like industry that may be. But like this is more like, I don't know, just I want to gain some perspective. But like, how can people? I like this way of using it instead of using like an artistic block. Like our last guest Meta, he was talking about like it's not really a block, it's more like a fog. But like how can people get out of like this kind of fog that we're in, whether it be like this financial fog, this artistic fog, like whatever thing that we're going through right now. Like what is your perspective on, I don't know, working out of that or working towards like a better you or a better future?
I wish I had my notebook in front of me right now, because I've reflected pretty deeply on this, and I actually reflected on this, like, I believe last year during some of my darkest times. Like, last year was a really dark year for me, but at the same time there was a lot I was grateful for. Um Last year, it was the first time I did December nights as the entertainment coordinator, and um moments like that, I took time to realize, like, holy cow, I have a lot of things to be grateful for, even despite this darkness that was inside of me because of like outside events happening. And basically, like, I reflected on this in U Spa. So shout out Convoy District for also providing me a space to find clarity and meditate and find peace within myself. I hope they can open again. But yeah, I was in U Spa and I was like reflecting in my notebook in there, kind of through this fog that, or this darkness that I was feeling at that time. And I came to the conclusion that, like, one, you have to feel these emotions deeply. You do. Like, it's again what makes us human. It's what makes us human to feel like this deep sadness or this deep anger or this or deep happiness when we can too. Just feel it completely. Assess those feelings. Keep assessing those feelings. This is again sort of my meditative practice, is just assessing those feelings and then assessing, like, okay, this is where I am right now. Where do I want to be going forward? Do I want to stay within this emotion that I'm in right now, or is there something that I want to be instead? And again, it all comes back to just taking a little step towards that each day, whether it just be like changing from your pajamas to an outfit that makes you feel good, or whether it means like getting out of the house to go feel the sun, um, and what that feels like. Again, feeling it so deeply and assessing it within you. So I think for a lot of people, a lot of the fog sometimes also comes from like all the things that we're consuming. So if we're consuming too much social media, especially all of the negative, often negative news because of the algorithm that's at play and because of all the stupid advertisements that are thrown at us, to make us happier, quote unquote. Um, but Yeah, like if that's all you're consuming, like you're just going to start feeling all those emotions and that's it. Those aren't your emotions. Those are what people are telling you to feel. You need to take the time away from all of that and feel what you want to feel inside and feel like, okay, again, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to go going forward. So, um, I think that's my best advice for getting out of this fog is just realizing like you can't be a product of all the things that you're consuming and you got to step away from it in order to really have the harder conversations within yourself first, but then realizing like, hey, I'm human. I'm having these emotions. They're all completely valid. But where do I want to go from here? And then take a little step towards where you want to go.
So again, before I go into like this very last little part, I'm super grateful for the fact that you've been part of three of like the biggest projects like I've done. But going back to like the beginning of the year, I remember we were actually doing like your little interview for the second book or the second written project, and we were
Mhm.
talking about this a little bit, but realizing how much you've grown during this time, like even this year alone, it's like there's a lot more like vulnerability when it comes to the way you speak, and it's just like, yo, this is I don't know, just a little reflecting on it is so big, and it's like, yo, you got out of that rut and you have like a different perspective on it. You have like a healthier perspective on how things are moving forward, and it's just I'm seeing so much growth, and it's like I like it's so it gives another layer of like why this conversation is so important because it's like, yo, I'm seeing even more growth from like the way you speak, and it's just like I'm so grateful to have these kind of conversations with you, and I mean these are just regular conversations we have like on the regular.
Mhm. No, I'm super grateful to have these conversations and you're like you just questioning and putting it out in the open like allows me to like self-reflect even more. Like so I mean, you mentioned it earlier. We've been moving like pretty rapidly through all these things. And when you say like you were part of like the three biggest projects of your life, blah blah blah, like those were big projects for me too. I am I am human like all of us at the end of the day, and I am completely amazed at what we're able to create together. I'm not like some superhuman that's like, holy cow, I had this vision from like when I was 2 years old. Like not at all. Like I've just again started listening more to other people, started listening to myself deep inside way more, and that's the biggest battle. Like everybody talks about like the biggest battle is gonna be within you, and I'm rooting for everyone in that battle because the more you're able to tackle it and chisel away and realize like, hey, I'm a lot stronger than I realize, or hey, I'm a lot more capable than I ever thought I was, then it opens you up to the possibilities. And I've just again I continue to put myself in a state of like what's possible. I try to get back to like maybe it's like a childlike state. There's like studies on this, but like I do try to be in a like an imaginative sort of space of like if I was presented to this problem as like a child, like what would I come up with, like what solutions. And sometimes it's like the simplest sort of solutions but with a lot of effort behind it. Um, so yeah, I'm appreciative to be able to reflect, and I'm grateful for all the privileges I suppose that I've been given. They are privileges, and I'm grateful to the sacrifices that my family has made to allow me to create in this space too. Like I mean, they were super supportive in the sense that like they didn't tell me my path, like they supported along the way. Like they made suggestions here and there obviously, but they just kept asking like what is it that you want to put out in the world. And now I am and now I just continue to put out all these things that I love with all the people that I love. So yeah, I'm super grateful to continue to grow. I've still much learning to do, but I'm still grateful for it all.
That's another set of faces that's gonna go with the my friends are my power mural for Lauren. Oh man, but I'm so happy that we get to have like these kind of conversations, especially like on a platform like this. I'm super grateful for like the amount of energy that you constantly give, like and everything, and it just motivates me to continue like growing, especially like during these times. So I'm again super grateful to have you as an and as a mentor, like especially during these times. So again, thank you for being on this episode and creating such an amazing vibe. Like you've like set a good tone, like along with everyone else. Like oh, I can't. I'm like reflecting on it now because every time we have conversations, it's always some kind of reflection that goes on. But it's just like, yo, with all these connections, all these like energies that have been put into this season, it's like, yo, you're contributing to that, and I just wanted to thank you that for that again.
Yeah, and grateful again to you too for just creating this space to have these conversations. Again, I think a lot of us are just moving at like warp speeds, what feels like a lot of the time, and oftentimes we're not able to like articulate or get asked these questions ourselves. So I'm really so proud to see all that you've done. You know that I'm always here to support equally. Like I love hearing like your vision on the world and how we can make it possible. So, like, again, you have much in your little puzzle piece to contribute to this amazing big picture that we're all part of. And I'm just here to support. That's like my vibe. I'm here. I'm here to support y'all. Tell me what you want to be in the world. So.
Wow, anime twiddle fingers being inserted and everything. But
I know
okay,
the anime. So I keep geeking out on that because I've been watching a lot of anime too. So not a lot, but some very specific animes. But yeah, they always have like this arch in the animes that, dude, it's once you get to the goal, everybody realizes like it was the journey that they should have been like reflecting on and having the most happiest grateful moments, because it's the journey getting to that goal that makes it all worth it. And even if you don't make it to that goal, who cares? The journey was fun anyways. So just get
it's
on.
like there's so many anime I could think of that. I mean, just looking at like I don't know, like Ash Ketchum and all that. Like he finally became a champion, but like the amount of like journeys he's been on, it's like yo, it took a while, but like he finally made it.
Exactly. I mean, it's not just anime too. I think, and like any kind of sort of great like hero storyline, like a lot of them realize like, wow, cool, I got this gold treasure. But it was really like all those moments and all those challenges that you got through to get there that made it so worth it. So again, like we're all on these really super cool journeys, but it's a choose your own adventure. Remember that. So keep finding your adventure and hopefully it includes other people, because that's what makes worth our life worth living is the other people that are with us.
Put that on the shirt. Like I've had this, like I don't know if it's gonna be like a joke or anything, but like if you have shirts for social artistry, that whole like life's a journey, or it's like a choose your own adventure. Put that on a shirt. Like I've been having this talk with like a whole like five other people, or maybe even like four other people. Like hey, put that on a shirt.
Hey, I've like even in middle school, like I wanted to like create a shirt line, and I had some like small dabbles here and there. Like I am never like closing off an opportunity. Like I like sometimes they just happen in different chapters, and sometimes they happen in the right chapters. I just got to be patient with it. So, yeah, maybe you'll see shirt. Check out my shirt line in the future. I'm just kidding.
No, we're manifesting this right now, but yeah, it's probably gonna be somewhere on one of your websites in the future. But manifest this right now.
Hey, only if it supports the community, though. I feel like if I haven't kind of shared it enough, like the things that I do, I don't really try to intend them to be just for me. I try to intend them to be like for the community, by the community, with the community's voices, with their vision, and then just like connecting them to something bigger. So, um, yeah, if the shirt was related to the community somehow, probably.
Oh, 100%. And I guess before we end this off, did you have any like shout outs you want to give out or any plugs you want to put in?
Shout out to anyone who's listening this long, or just, I don't know. Again, I'm really grateful for everyone that I've come into connection with through these wonderful years, and I've been able to build with. I'm always super inspired by all of you. And then I'm also inspired by all these beautiful things that are happening in the world too. So I look to those more than anything else. And so everyone else has their own way that they're going to contribute to this. And I'm rooting for everybody on their journeys too towards it.
Wow. And again, thank you so much for being on this episode. Thank you for creating such an amazing vibe. And this was such an amazing episode for you to be on, especially since this is your third time being on whatever projects like I've been doing and everything. So again, I'm super grateful.
I appreciate like being able to go through these chapters with you. Like literally just going through the other chapters, like you still see like my soul in it all, but you see like wow, this is how far we've all come. This is like what we've all created together. So thank you so much for documenting this crazy wild ride, because I forget to document it sometimes and I'm like, wait, what happened? So
Yes, 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 so important. And with that being said, again, thank you everyone for listening thus far. There's going to be a lot more amazing guests like Lauren coming for like the next few episodes and everything. I hope you're enjoying thus far with the podcast. And again, thank you for listening, and we shall catch you on the next one. Peace.